Hi everybody, it's Eric Johnson. So what I'd like to do today is my last video, the 9 Mile Hole Forrest Fenn poem video, where I tried to marry the poem to 9 Mile Hole Solve. Got a lot of reaction, negative reaction. It got some positive reaction, but it got a lot of negative reaction, and I knew it would. And I believe I said at the beginning of that video, this is going to get a lot of pushback. I think was the word I used, I could be wrong. And I did. Because I know there are a lot of people who are just unwilling. They don't want to hear about 9 Mile Hole. They don't want to hear that the chase is over. They don't want to hear that Forrest Fenn and Jack both said that Jack found it, that the chase is over. They want it to keep going on forever. I don't understand the mentality. I think life's too short to just stay on Hi, Tober. I think life's just too short to just stay in fantasy land because it just is. And so I'm going to persevere in spite of Tober making the scene. So I'm going to rebut the rebuttals. The first one, there were a number of them where people just basically were unhappy with me doing the concept of connecting the Forrest Fenn poem clues to the 9 Mile Hole solve, and that's fine. And I'm only going to really respond to a couple, because the couple that I'm responding to. So Tober is nudging my glass of water with a touch of coffee still left in it. And of course, his nose is exactly where I sit. All right, honey. Yeah, that's fine. Just get on the laptop and leave me alone. All right. So anyway, I'm just going to rebut the two videos or comments that critiqued me and criticized me, because I thought they summed up best the misunderstanding that some people have about what I was doing. And to really put it in a nutshell, what people kept saying over and over was, why did you change your solve to 9 Mile Hole? As if I had kind of wussied out. In fact, someone said at the end, which we'll talk about, she says this was a easy way to end the chase for you or something. No, none of now there's a dog outside my window. None of this has anything to do with what I was trying to do. This was not my solve, okay? What happened was, and I thought I made this clear in the first one, but I now understand that I didn't really explain things as well as I should have. I admit that, because I can see this one person, for instance, just completely got hung up on things that had nothing to do with really anything. All that happened was I saw that in the evidence that was given in the McCracken trial, that Jack Stoof had told Forrest Fenn repeatedly he was sure that the treasure was at 9 Mile Hole. And of course, we know that Jack found the treasure. If you don't want to believe that, if your way of getting through life is to say, nah, I don't want to hear it, I'm going to keep going on and searching for the treasure, and I don't believe Jack found it, and it's all a hoax, well, then you're lost. I don't even know what to tell you, because you're kind of ignoring what to me is kind of the obvious. I mean, these emails were placed in evidence. They were emails from Jack to Forrest Fenn. You know, people were writing me saying, no, those emails, Cynthia, she was representing Fenn in some of the emails and all that. I'm going, Fenn, as far as I know, only wrote one back to Jack. Jack kept writing them. I don't think that was Cynthia when it was Jack. Jack kept writing the emails to Fenn saying, I think it's at 9 Mile Hole. He apparently wrote a lot of them. Not all the emails were entered into evidence, but the ones that were, I'm pretty sure were from Jack. Okay? I mean, you got the judge looking at them. You got both lawyers for the Fenn estate and the McCracken people looking at it. Well, I guess it was McCracken since he didn't have a lawyer. The point I'm trying to make is they're in evidence. As far as I know, there was only one email back from Fenn, and it basically to Jack said, "Don't dig in the park," or words to that effect. If you want to say all of the emails were fraudulent or contrived or Cynthia Meacham was somehow involved, I just think you're wrong. I don't really care. So again, since Jack thought the treasure was in 9 Mile Hole and Jack found the treasure, I thought, obviously, he recovered the treasure in 9 Mile Hole, Yellowstone National Park, state of Wyoming, USA. And I thought, wouldn't it be an interesting concept just to take the Forrest Fenn poem and match the clues, if possible, to the 9 Mile Hole. 9 Mile Hole as the solve. That's all it was. It was that simple. So now you're going to see some, and I picked two different people. I picked because she did a whole video critiquing me called Gaslighting Forrest Fenn. It was what it was. Get it? Because my channel's It Is What It Is. So let's look at what Gaslighting Forrest Fenn, it was what it was. What this person does is, and I don't know if they're male or female, but what they do is they use a robot voice on their videos. So what they do is they just critique videos. That's what I was able to determine from the channel. They critique other people's videos. Kind of a simple, easy way to do videos. You just look at other people's videos and then say what you like or don't like about them. So that's what they did with me. So let's read. I did an audio I got an audio transcript and had it transcribed so I could. I didn't want to show the video because I don't think I should. I just don't think I should. So I don't. But I don't think there's anything wrong with taking the audio from another video and transcribing it into text so I can read it and respond to it, which is what I'm going to do, okay? So, this is the transcription of the video. I'm going to say she because her robot voice is female, and she has a picture that looks like a kind of a female Shrek or something. But anyway, starts out, it's the treasure poem solved by Eric Johnson, produced by It Is What It Is Productions. What a disappointment. I had high hopes for Eric's video. I was excited to see what Eric had to say about 9 Mile Hole. I now have bald patches on my head where I pulled my hair out before getting to Eric's solve. Eric makes a lot of misstatements that need to be corrected. Eric says that, now in the transcription it says that, Jack and Fenn both said it's in Wyoming. No, they didn't. Okay. If you're going to quote someone, quote the exact words. The exact words. Why do searchers keep making that mistake? When said that he and Jack both agreed to say it was in Wyoming. Agreed to say it was in Wyoming. Agreed to say just because you don't see a difference in the wording doesn't mean there isn't a difference. And the word Wyoming was never defined by Fenn. Did it need to be? This is what I'm talking about, folks. I don't know if some of the people at this point that are still hanging in there, that are hanging on to their own solves or don't believe Jack found it. I don't know if some of these people even can hold jobs. Because I read the most illogical, misunderstood statements by people, or misunderstanding statements by people. They don't seem to understand what I'm saying, for instance, or what's going on in the chase, and they're off in their own kind of fantasy land. There's one searcher, I won't say his name, but he's gone. I mean, I used to talk to him personally. He's a shut-in. He's disabled. I've learned all this. His wife supports him. And, he'll go off on these very, very well thought out tangents that ultimately mean nothing. I mean, he puts a lot of thought into them, but they don't go anywhere. They're just like circular logic. And the poor guy, he can't even work. He doesn't have a job. It's just, I don't know. And and that's nothing. I'm just saying, some of the people now that are still out there pushing this thing, some of their well-meaning people, they got their stuff together, I guess. But I mean, let's face it, folks, it's over. The chase is over. As to whether there are legal complications coming up or more lawsuits coming up, yeah, sure, I understand that, and I'm going to follow all that. But if you're still out there like people are, debating whose solve is better, and who's going to find it first, and arguing that it wasn't found and that it's all a hoax and stuff, I don't know what to tell you, because as far as I'm concerned, the treasure chest was found, and it was found in 9 Mile Hole, and Jack Stoof found it, and Forrest Fenn and Jack both said it was in Wyoming. And the word Wyoming was never defined by Fenn. See what I'm saying? If you're on the level where just simple words, simple logic, you think is... I don't even know how to respond to that. I mean, if the word Wyoming for you is not what it appears to be, when Fenn and Jack both say it was found in Wyoming, then there's no meeting ground, because Wyoming is a state in the United States. I don't know how much more complicated that can be. I get revved up on this because I don't like it when people kind of pick apart what I say and start saying you haven't even thought about what the word Wyoming really means. Because it irritates me. It's like, no, I haven't, because I didn't think I had to, because most normal people know it's a state in Wyoming. I mean, it's a state in the United States. See, oh, well, here's the next line. You are assuming he meant the state of Wyoming and don't bring up what his lawyers said. What Fenn's lawyer said is not the same thing as what Fenn said. I remember what his folks, I'm not even going to look it up. Fenn's lawyer didn't say anything. At the most I remember, oh God, I don't see what I mean. This drives me fucking crazy. This fucking bullshit. Well, you didn't even bring it up. Well, you didn't bring it up either. You didn't say what his fucking lawyer said either. Goddamn, it's a goddamn state of fucking Wyoming, you fucking idiot. Jesus Christ. What his lawyer said, that they both agreed to say it was in Wyoming is not the same as saying it's in Wyoming? Are we back to that old saw, to use a weird expression I've never even understood? See what I mean? This shit gets me pissed off. Trying to catch you up on shit that doesn't even make sense, as if they've got some inside understanding of what's really going on, because, you don't know what Wyoming means. Lunatic people, folks, I'm telling you. Next. Yeah, you were assuming you meant the state of Wyoming. Yeah, you're right. That's what I thought. Yeah. 4 states. One of them was Wyoming. 4 states the treasure could be in. Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Montana. Yeah, and they bring up Wyoming, and I thought, well, I think Wyoming is one of the 4 states where you could find it in the Rocky Mountains. No, it's not that. No, that's not what Wyoming means, you dumb shit. God. Fucking people. They can't hold jobs. They're just going to spend the rest of their life debating the Fenn chase. It's not over, and these idiots are believing things like it was found in Wyoming because they think Wyoming's a state in the USA. Idiots. Next, Eric says that when they chose someone to discuss the location of the treasure, they chose the ranger or chief ranger of Yellowstone. Eric, do you see what's in my hands? I am holding a clump of my hair, and it belongs to you. Okay, I'm not sure what that means. It belongs to me? I guess she means that she pulled it out because of me? Okay. And then she says, why does everyone have so little imagination? Gee, yeah. Imagine me not having the imagination to think of all the other things Wyoming could be. Then a state. Such little imagination, thinking Wyoming's a state in the USA. Everyone assumes that Fenn and Jack initiated the call to the Chief Ranger of Yellowstone. Why does everyone assume that? Well, Because as a federal employee, I don't think that I'm kind of proactively getting ahead of where she's going to go with this. And again, I'm saying she because for instance, the picture, kind of looks like a Shrekky school marm, and the robot voice sounds kind of like a woman. I don't know who this person is. If they're going to start harassing me, oh, you don't even know I'm a guy, I'll be like, oh, you fooled me. I didn't have enough imagination. If the treasure chest, if you're a park ranger, if you're the head chief ranger in Yellowstone National Park, why would you pick up the phone and call the Fenn estate about the treasure if you don't know where it's been found? I can't imagine why you would do that. So you're a federal employee, and you call up Fenn and you go, I don't know where it was found, but I want you to assure me it wasn't found in the park I'm responsible for? I don't think that's how it works, folks. I think if it can be proven to the park that it was found in Yellowstone and it wasn't turned into Yellowstone, then at that point, maybe they would have the right to call somebody. But I don't think that's been established. So, she says, why does everyone assume that? Here's another explanation. This, of course, would be her imaginative explanation. After Fenn and Jack agreed to say it was found in Wyoming, the chief ranger called Fenn, not the other way around. Okay, I get that. Yeah, that's obviously what you were trying to say. The chief ranger had a question. Was the treasure hidden in Yellowstone? Maybe the chief ranger was threatening legal action. Why? She doesn't know where it was found. Listen here. I guess she's speaking for the ranger. Listen here. If it was in Yellowstone, you have a problem. So Fenn and Jack had no choice but to tell her the real location. Why? Does she have some jurisdiction over them? Fenn's down in New Mexico and Jack's in wherever Jack is in Puerto Rico, and Yellowstone calls up, and what's going to happen if they don't respond? Is she going to call? I mean, what are you even talking about? She doesn't know where it is, so she's calling you up in your home and saying, hey, this is Yellowstone. You better prove to me it wasn't in my park. I don't think that's how it works. I really don't. So Fenn and Jack had no choice but to tell her the location, which was not in Yellowstone. Folks, this is so illogical. If it wasn't in Yellowstone, let's presume she's right. If it wasn't in Yellowstone, why would they have no choice but to tell her the real location? How about, hey lady, it's none of your effing business. I don't know why I'm covering up the F word. Piss off. How about that? If it truly wasn't in Yellowstone, and the Yellowstone Ranger's calling you up, let's say, and you know for a fact it wasn't in Yellowstone, and the Chief Ranger of Yellowstone is calling you out of the blue because they don't know where the location, and they're going, hey, Mr. or Mrs. ABC, you proved to me it wasn't in Yellowstone, and you know it wasn't there. I think most American citizens would say, stick it up your rear end. It's not your problem. Don't worry about it. They don't have any jurisdiction on you. They don't have any right to do anything. I don't know how old this person is that has this channel, but they don't know how the world really works, okay? Government officials, like I'm not talking about the current political situation in D.C., what they can get away with. Don't even get me started. I know I pissed some people off last time. When I did that last video, I was having a very hard time with just the way things were going at the moment. I still do, but I lost 3 subscribers, and I'm sure it was because of my political stuff. And then then I gained 1. But so I'm still going to talk about politics, but I'm not going to. I was having a bad day that day. And I understand some people go, Eric, I just want to hear about Forrest. I don't want to hear about your politics. Okay, fine. Anyway, the smarter or wiser or more mature people around listening know what I'm saying. Park rangers don't have the right to just call people willy-nilly, demanding that they prove to them where something may have been left or abandoned if they have no proof it was in their park. I mean, that's just not how it works. American citizens can just say, I don't know what your problem is. I don't know, leave me alone. This person says, so Fenn and Jack had no choice but to tell her the real location, which was not in Yellowstone. Why do you say it's not in Yellowstone? I mean, Yellowstone's in Wyoming, and Jack and Fenn said it was in Wyoming, and Jack kept writing emails saying that he was searching 9 Mile Hole, which is in Yellowstone National Park that's in Wyoming. Why would it not be in Wyoming? What would lead you to believe it's not in Wyoming? They don't, this person does not say. Then she says something, I'm so glad to correct this. Then she says, next, Eric says that people think it's in Glacier. Why would they go to the head ranger in Yellowstone if it was in Glacier? No. I said, if it was in Glacier, the big mistake I made, and I understand, and I am willing to say when I did things clumsily, what I was trying to say is, for example, if it was in Glacier, would they go to the head ranger of Yellowstone? I think I said if it was in Glacier, and so she says, people think it's in Glacier. No, I didn't think it was in Glacier. Glacier's up in Montana, though, north of Yellowstone. I was just saying if it's in Glacier. I always thought about going to Glacier, actually, but not for the treasure. I never thought it was up there. It was just an example. And you knew that if you were smart, because later on I said, or New Mexico. I'm discussing the concept of why would people go to the head ranger in Yellowstone if it's in New Mexico, which people still are saying it's down in New Mexico. Why would they go to the head ranger of Yellowstone? If it was in Glacier Park, why would they go to the head ranger of Yellowstone? That was my point. I didn't say people think, I'm sure there were a couple of people thought it was in Glacier, but I should have qualified it. Jesus Christ. I mean, see, that's the problem. And it'll be so nice to move on to things like metal detecting and being out and searching for treasure on the coast and all that stuff. Because, God almighty, I mean, some of the people in this Forrest Fenn thing are so stupid. I don't even know what to call them. Well, stupid. Okay, I'll just say stupid. Yeah. For example, if it was in Glacier, would you go to the head ranger in Yellowstone? If it was in New Mexico, would you go to the head ranger in Yellowstone? That was my whole point. Because there are all these people saying it's not in Yellowstone. And so I would rebut and say, well, if it's not Yellowstone, why would they go to the head ranger in Yellowstone? This is comments from before. And people were writing me back on, well, because they wanted her to know it wasn't in Yellowstone because she wanted to make sure it wasn't. So then they had her go see the location, which I guess was not in Yellowstone. So you have the head ranger of Yellowstone leaving Yellowstone Park to go look at the location in other places other than Yellowstone to confirm it's not in Yellowstone, which is her jurisdiction. Folks, that is the dumbest lack of understanding of how things work that I can even tell you about. Park rangers, head rangers, do not go around scouring the country when they have no idea where something might have been misplaced or abandoned, including their own park. They don't know it's in their park. They're not going or running around asking people to prove to them it's not in their park. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just not how it works. If a park ranger finds out, if someone writes them and says, by the way, the Forrest Fenn treasure was found at ABC location, and you should know that, and here's some sort of proof to prove it, Yeah, I could see the head ranger going and saying to someone, "Show, you want to explain this because someone's telling," and I'm not even sure that would be valid from a legal point of view. You have to understand, folks, these people that are like chief rangers and stuff, they have rules they go by. You know what I mean? Like she goes to the director of the park. I would like to go down to New Mexico next week. Why? Because because I think the Forrest Fenn treasure was buried there. Okay, what's that got to do with us? Why would I pay for you to go down to New Mexico? Well, because I think it may have been here, but I thought you said it was in New Mexico. Well, that's where they're telling me it is. It's in New Mexico. Okay, well then what does that have to do with us up here in Yellowstone? Well, I thought maybe it was in our park, Yellowstone. Well, what proof do you have of that? Well, I don't have any proof of that, but I read something about this guy, and he used to hang out in Yellowstone a lot, and I think maybe he left it here. Yeah, but what proof do you have that it was left here? Well, I don't have any, but I'm going to be able to prove it now because they said they can show me the location down in New Mexico, which will let me know it's not here. And then, of course, we have the obvious fact that they're showing you a location and doesn't even have the chest in it. They're just saying, oh, it was here. I mean, if they had removed the chest from Yellowstone and they told them, it was in Yellowstone, hey, Belle, she's going there and she's seen and apparently she did. She went and looked at a location, and this would be the location where the chest had been, not where it was. She's literally going on their word that it was in Yellowstone. Now, you might say, well, Eric, why would she even talk about it? I mean, rather, you might say, well, Eric, why would Fenn and Jack want to tell the chief ranger, the director? Like I said before, you're supposed to go to the director. Let's just say that they did, and the director just said to the chief ranger, you handle it. Sarah Davis at the time. I think it's very obvious. I think that they're fully aware, with all the court proceedings and everything that's going on, two things. I think Fenn might have felt a legal obligation to more or less let them know that he found it in Yellowstone, since you're supposed to. Okay? I think first and foremost that could be it. That Fenn was just, and Jack decided we should do, and for all I know, they told him right after they discovered the chest. We don't know when they first contacted Yellowstone. It could have been right back then. We just know that they had this Zoom call where they apparently all got together and discussed it. And she went and looked at it because they were supposed to tell the director of Yellowstone that they had retrieved the chest when they retrieved it. Okay? So the most obvious is just that's what you're supposed to do. Secondly, I think they're very fully aware of the fact location's going to come out. I am pretty certain the location's going to come out at some point. So there is some consideration of the fact that if in fact it's located where I believe it was, and if you watch my previous video, you see that it's near 9 Mile Hole and Fenn Rock across the river. It's up there, Mount something. Well, anyway, there's a mountain, there's a small mountain, and there's woods and stuff. And if it's all in those places, that's going to be a troublesome place for them to have any kind of. Someone was saying to me, well, Yellowstone, that's what they do. They have. Someone was saying to me, well, that's the thing. Yellowstone, they have attractions. They have geysers. They have hot springs. They have all sorts of things. They have rivers that have hot places you can bathe and all these kind of things. I don't know if you still can. They have attractions. That's kind of what Yellowstone's all about. The problem with that particular location is, if you watch my old video, I'll put some of the pictures in here to show you what I'm talking about. You're going to have a bunch of people that are going to want to get out on the side of the river where the road is, and then to get to the location, if it became some sort of an attraction, because this person's point was, well, I mean, they deal in attractions. Why not just make it an attraction? where the Forrest Fenn treasure was found as some sort of little side thing that some people might want to go visit to say, oh, this is, even though in the big picture, the Forrest Fenn chase is very, very, very small event in the context of the United States of America. It really is. When I used to go out on my trips, nobody knew what the hell I was talking about when I talked about Forrest Fenn. But considering there definitely is a community that was looking for it, some still are, even though it's been found. You know, yeah, so if it was an attraction, I don't know what they do. They wouldn't want people wading through the river, the Madison. They wouldn't want them walking through those rocks that I thought might be a point where you go through. They'd probably want to put a little bridge, and they'd probably want, there may be a path or a trail, and then it would go to wherever the location was. I don't think they want to do all that. I think it's that simple. That's a fishing location. It's a fishing river. It's a fully established 9 Mile Hole is a very big fishing hole. I just don't think the park, and that's what she said, Sarah Davis, and they all agreed that this is not a place that it would be conducive to put in some sort of have people visiting it for any number of reasons. I just don't think they want to do it. So she went and looked at it and said, it's not a place we really want to have as an attraction, so to speak. So we're not going to do it. We want to keep a location private. Okay? So I don't think it was very complicated as to why Fenn and Jack wanted Yellowstone to know where the location was in Yellowstone. They were obligated to do it since it was found in Yellowstone, probably at 9 Mile Hole, because that's where Jack said to Fenn he was constantly looking for it, and Jack found it. And I just think also that it's not conducive to being a, quote, attraction at Yellowstone like the geysers are and stuff. God, they have enough problem with people falling in the water and getting gored by bison. They don't need another thing where people are trying to go across a river and getting drowned in the rapids. I mean, yeah. As I said in my last video, Yellowstone needs to cut the... I know that they make money and they've got their gift shop and all that kind of stuff. Yellowstone, and of course, you pay to get in. Yellowstone really needs to cut. They need to restrict something, because as I said in my last video, it's really kind of like an outdoorsy, woodsy version of Disneyland. It's no fun. It's just too many people. When I went to the, quote, whatever it's called, the gift shop or the main place you go at Yellowstone, I got in that parking lot. It was all buses. It was wall-to-wall cars. Every parking space was filled. And this was in May, when you're still having things like snow flurries and stuff. So, yeah, it's, okay. Okay, so sorry, I do tend to, as you know. People that have watched me for a long time, I go off on tangents, and that's just the way I'm wired. So I'm going to pick up where she said, next Eric says people think it's in Glacier. Why would they go to the Head Ranger in Yellowstone if it was in Glacier? They wouldn't. That was my point. That's why they went to the Head Ranger in Yellowstone, because it was in Yellowstone. Thank you very much. God. I mean, I make the most obvious points and people misunderstand them. It's amazing. Stop doing that. You may ask, why didn't the Chief Ranger of Glacier contact? See, here we are at the Glacier. I really wish I had just said, for example, if it was in Glacier, why would you... Okay. Why didn't the Chief Ranger of Glacier contact them? Exactly. Why would the Chief Ranger of Glacier contact them if they never told Glacier it was in Glacier? They wouldn't. Because that's not their job. Their job, head rangers of national parks, it's not their job to wonder if something was in their park, even though they have no evidence of it, and go try to chase it down. That's not their job. They're supposed to deal with what happens in their park and work from there. Because the Chief Ranger in Glacier never thought it was in Glacier. The Chief Ranger of Yellowstone did think it might be in Yellowstone. Ding, ding, ding. Thank you. Yes. The Chief Ranger in Yellowstone thought it was in Yellowstone because Jack and Fenn called the park and said we retrieved the treasure in Yellowstone, And we're telling you because that's what we're supposed to do. Now, you may very well say, well, technically, you're supposed to turn the treasure over to the director of the park. Okay, I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying, though, and Yellowstone claims, as they told Steve Klein, Yellowstone said, as they told Steve Klein in an email, we're still in litigation. And Steve Klein was writing them about Jack Stoof finding the treasure in Yellowstone. And they respond, and you're going to see this crazy lack of, this just craziness coming up farther down the list. I'll just get to it, and I'll just show you how crazy it is. Because the chief ranger in Glacier never thought it was in Glacier. The chief ranger of Yellowstone did think it might be in Yellowstone. That's what would have prompted the conversation. No. A chief ranger's not sitting around just going, you know, I've heard about this Fenn thing. I wonder if it is in the park. I don't have any proof of that, but I'm just going to call him and bug him about it. No, that's not how it works, Gaslighting, Fenn. It's not how it works. No. Only 3 minutes into the video, and we already have these major errors. Next, here we go. Next, Eric talks about his buddy Steve, who wrote to the PR department. Now, you want to talk about some crazy shit. Listen to this. Next, Eric talks about his buddy Steve, who wrote to the PR department at Yellowstone and asked if Yellowstone would like to comment on the chest being at 9 Mile Hole. Now that the court case was over, someone from Yellowstone said they couldn't comment because the litigation was not over. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Then Eric makes a big deal about it being someone from Yellowstone Public Relations. Yeah, that's who Steve wrote the email to. Then Eric makes a big deal about it being someone from the Yellowstone Public Relations Department who replied to the email as if that means anything. Someone from Yellowstone replied to Steve's email because that's who Steve addressed the email to. Right. Why would someone from Glacier respond to an email sent to the PR department at Yellowstone? Are you eating Tober's catnip again? He's talking to me. I thought that was actually pretty funny. But not the illogic of what she is saying. Let's just read it in a whole paragraph here and see how logical this is. Now that the court case was over, someone from Yellowstone said that they couldn't comment because the litigation was not over. Then Eric makes a big deal about it being someone from Yellowstone PR department who replied to the email as if that means anything. Someone from Yellowstone replied to Steve's email because that's who Steve addressed the email to. Why would someone from Glacier respond to an email sent to the Public Relations Department at Yellowstone? The reason it was a big deal was, leaving Glacier aside, the reason it was a big deal was because Steve wrote Yellowstone and said, basically in so many words, what's up with the situation with Forrest Fenn and Jack and supposedly retrieving the treasure in Yellowstone, and the Yellowstone Public Relations Department wrote back and said we can't comment on that because it's still in litigation. Yeah, I'd say that's kind of a big friggin' deal. Yeah, that's a big deal. Hello, Yellowstone. Can you tell me what's going on? Did Jack Stoof and Forrest Fenn, were they right when they said the treasure was located in Yellowstone and was retrieved from Yellowstone? Yellowstone legal public relations representation says, sorry, we can't discuss that. It's still in litigation. You don't think that's a big deal? It completely verifies the fact that Yellowstone thinks it was in Yellowstone. They're still in litigation with the Fenn estate about it because that's what Steve asked about. He asked about the treasure that Fenn and Stoof said they recovered in Yellowstone, and Yellowstone representative says, sorry, we can't talk about it. It's still in litigation. What could be more obvious? This is not a complicated conversation. This should not throw people. This shouldn't throw people like, oh, what do they mean by that? Folks, it was found in Yellowstone. It's obviously still, which is in the state of Wyoming, which is the state of Wyoming. I didn't look into the meaning of Wyoming any further than that. You're right. You caught me. I have no imagination. I just thought it was the state of Wyoming. Let me go let Bell out. God damn, dealing with some of these people. You talk about pulling your hair out.